Hello, everybody. Today is January 18th. This is the Misfit Happy Hour brought to you by Sang Lucci and Company. I'm here with Peter McEwen and Lucci himself. And to give you a rundown, we just had a really overbought situation come unglued today. They went from the rally highs of about 4,040 and closed them on the dead low, which today in the futures is 39.45, where they sit currently here, January 18th at 4:19 p.m. Um, and it looked as though, in my opinion, that the someone big needed to offload a lot of size. And so they kind of convinced, or they spun a lot of mechanical systems into a buy, and then basically left them as bag holders as there was not a retracement. Right from the beginning of if it's really the beginning of a new move, there's not going to be a retracement because the market's coming from a balanced position. There's a big inventory displacement, and no one's in a rush to take the other side of a big inventory displacement. Do you manage? Hey, Luch, did you manage to stay fairly neutral mindset today?
Um, well, I was just talking about that with some of the guys at the office in particular. Um, um, it's tough. It's tough, right? Because you go through days of chop. You go
Yep.
through days of chop action,
Yep.
and you go through days of trying to figure out where we're gonna break, right? If we're gonna break up or if we're gonna break down. And you spend a lot of mental capital in these days, right? And
Huge.
then when a day like this comes along where it's everybody's trapped, and there's only a one side move, and
Yep.
the tape is one sided, right? Market makers have to play that side. They got to hedge too. They got to put on. They got to cover their books as well. Everybody that got caught has to go that same side. Everybody's on the same side of the tape.
Yep.
And when those days come, to take the same risk and to take the same after the mental capital that you've spent. Let's assume that you've spent a lot of mental capital trying to get to that, to get to the point of today, and this happens on all cycles, whether it's up, down, whatever the hell it is. Assuming you spent all that capital, it's difficult to stay in the pocket, Katie.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I
really,
like I
it's, yeah, it's difficult when you get emotionally pissed about something like you didn't have enough on, you missed it. You're just all of a sudden, how come I'm not selling weakness and it's, skills that we don't have?
Yeah.
It's,
So I got size at 397. My
oh, you
entries
did
are
good.
my entries are always fucking spot on, man. And I got some decent I got a decent amount of risk, probably 200, 300,000, and I bought SPX put straight
Yeah.
up for tomorrow's expiry cuz I'm looking at everything and I'm like something's different here. Now everything's selling. Like banks are all selling, everything is selling. If everybody's trapped, then if this happens today, it's going to unwind really fucking quick.
Hmm.
So I
No
had
question.
futures. I had futures. I shorted calls, and I go long SPX puts,
Yep.
and I
I,
catch a good 20 handles, right?
yep.
Catch a good 20 handles on the futures, and then I start selling it. I start covering it. I start feeling this fear that it's all going to evaporate because the last 2 weeks have told me
Yeah.
that would be the case, right? I'm still reacting from the mental capital that I spent, and I'm still replaying scenarios subconsciously from the last 6 days of the period of consolidation. Right now, I get in the mode of selling. I'm not even looking anymore at tape, which is why I got in the fucking thing to begin with. I'm not even looking anymore at it because now I'm operating from a different perspective. I'm operating from protecting gains. So if you're operating from protecting gains, number one, you're not going to put the shit back on. Number two, you're just looking for more excuses to take off risk when the time is now to put the fucking risk on, to put the risk on and to keep it on. Now, of course, you can debate back and forth of how long you should have held it and blah, 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 blah. You can debate it all. But I'll give you this. I'll give you this. I bought those SPX puts for 14 with size. I cover 27, 25 to 28. They closed at $54 today.
Right.
You know what I
I
mean?
know.
We're talking about the difference between
Yep. Yeah.
between scooping back all the losses that you made and making millions on top
Yep.
is what I'm talking about, and that's the gap of in the area in the place that I'm looking into acquiring and getting better at. Because if I can get 5% better, 10% better, fucking 2% better, it equals $1 million extra on my bottom line.
Like trade right instead of harder.
You know,
The understanding of at least you're on the right side. We could
100%.
we
Yeah,
could start
100%.
there, right?
100%. It's all good.
Right,
It's all
right. You're
good.
on the right
I
side,
ain't bitching. I'm not complaining.
right?
You know what I
Like,
mean? I mean, and fuck that. I am complaining, but
right. I'm with you too, right? You can never have enough size when you're right. Never. It's like this weird thing, right? It's like a Coke bender or something. I don't know.
indeed.
It's I have you ever been at a blackjack table, or I'm sorry, at a craps table in Vegas or something like that when someone's winning and you can feel the energy and like people are losing. It's like I don't know. I've only seen it a couple times in person, but it's so the people in the table are like consumed by the winning and things like that. And it's sort of like that feeling here where we
Yeah.
just like, fuck, I'm right. What is it? It's just that we don't have the confidence to go big in the beginning, or is it that we
I don't have the problem. I don't have that problem. I
oh, you
have the
don't?
problem. I have the problem of losing sight of the tape and just looking at the P&L and just thinking to cover losses or thinking in fear versus allowing what I know to be a good shot, good probability to continue to work. There's some other fear mixed up in there. I haven't been able to pinpoint what it is. I
That
have not been able to pinpoint what it
you
is.
know, it's just like when we're caught in the horns of a dilemma, so to speak, and we need a cool analytical head as the trade unfolds.
Right.
And Peter, how do we do that? I mean, I know to take a walk if I'm emotional, like I get stopped on a trade that I knew I was right at, and then it immediately goes my way. I'm like, fuck, I'm pissed. And then I know at least not to trade while I'm in an emotional state now.
This is a function of repetition also, right? Because we unconsciously, biologically, we acclimate to the dopamine uptake from, like, Lucci gets in the trade, doesn't get egotistical about it. We hit supply, he flips short at a decent price. And then he's like, oh, good, I covered, maybe, I'm flat again. But by that point, the brainstem is reacting to how we always do stuff. And a lot of that time, we're reacting to how we get rewarded for certain repetitions. So one thing a trader can do sometimes is reward themselves for not a typical reward. Like you got to shake up when you reward yourself and when you don't reward yourself, because then it kind of resets the brain. The brain in his case thought, oh, good, I'm flat again. I'm taking this size off because I don't want to, if this thing retraces back up, I don't want to like play again. I don't want to, like, I'm not going for the jackpot here. His brain was telling him not to go for the jackpot. So basically, to some degree, we need to start usurping the habitual dopamine uptake pattern that's caused by the way we gamble.
Is that in English, right? Like the guys
Oh,
in English, right? Like the
yeah,
guys in
yeah.
the ring would say, you have a winner on, go for a walk.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Or
Yeah.
don't reward yourself by taking off the position right away, because that's what he did. He reinforced
No,
the habit.
he got 20 handles. He didn't take it off
Well,
right away,
right.
right?
That was like
By the way, nice trade,
that was
Luke.
a 15
Thanks.
minute that was like
Right, you need to hear that nice trade.
that was like a 15-minute move, right? The initial, because we
The
hit.
initial push. Yep, the initial push of it from 397 to like 395. Then I rolled in to a following day just to keep something on.
Right.
And then I started selling this. I started exploding my shit just selling calls. So I took every single dollar I had because I'm not in the long puts anymore, and I'm just blowing out leverage on the short call side because I know this shit's gonna keep going. I know this
Yeah.
shit's gonna keep going. So all I did was blow out $1 million in fucking leverage on short and calls, and just scraped 50 cents, a dollar, 50 cents, a dollar. By the end of the day, I had scraped another, probably $5 in premium. But again, it's nothing
Compared,
it's
right.
nothing in comparison to the long risk, to the long options risk when you have a directional move that is forced by all the market participants at one fucking time.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
a power to it. There's
Yes.
a power to it. It moves markets. It's where everybody, if you're on the right side of it, it's where you get fucking paid.
Yeah,
It's the cleanest
cleanest
action.
move, right? It's like
the
a
cleanest
video go
action.
viral. It's like a like Black Lives Matter riots. It's like
100%.
right.
But
It's
do
all
you see my point here is that he behaved as his biology dictated, not as like his adult capacity dictated. That is my speculation. It's sort of like a primitive
and time
man.
out, time out. How did you
Hold
time
on.
out? How did you do today, Peter?
I actually I did pretty good because I saw the algos selling this morning. We had 2 algo rips, both got sold, and we were at the August high volume weighted anchored price. So I was looking for a rejection there, and we were also at the whatever. I had some technical ideas, and I also saw options euphoria in Wall Street Jesus's room. I was watching calls come in. I'm like, these bets way up here are absurd. Like this.
Oh wow.
Doesn't seem, but I took it off way too early. I took it off.
Sounds familiar, right?
Like 5 minutes, because I think it's sort of like primitive man. He's super starving. He comes upon a carcass surrounded by 10 hyenas. Instead of killing the 10 hyenas, he's happy to have what's left of the carcass. And I think that's sometimes the mentality we have when price reverses on us and we have like an adrenal uptake. We're thinking at like a very basic level of like survival, like, oh shit, I gotta flip short or just get out of this position. And that's,
I mean, that's a skill that we need to
skill.
oh,
manage.
that's a huge skill. That's why Lucci's still trading, because he has his survival mechanisms are not only intact, they're well trained.
You know, you could say, wait, I mean, essentially what we're saying is I was such a pussy.
Right. Well, what would
and
the
there's
alpha?
levels of that, and there's
Right.
levels of that.
Yeah.
There's always levels of that, you know.
Right.
Now we debate what level of friggin'
Pussy
you
were today.
Overall, good trade. I'm not attacking anybody because I'm not
I like these conversations because they
I'm not
help me.
1/10 of the trader of either of you. So
I got it. It's about those fractions. It's about those inches. It's about those small percentages that I get a little bit better, and that's when I go on a run. So right now, I'm figuring out this exact problem that we're speaking about right now, this exact thing. All I got to do, little bit better, and there's fucking millions. Oh, there's tens of millions of dollars at the end of that road.
To everybody watching, welcome to our group therapy session with Peter today. Now,
well, this is where I'm talking about when do we reward ourselves. So basically, what's more important to rewire your brain is to reward yourself now. Like
but
wait. So the sign of a mature adult is to be able to delay gratification.
Yeah, but the sign of a courageous alpha type trader is to not take biology's cue of when to reward themselves. You make the conscious decision to reward yourself, even if you take a loss, because then basically you're not at the mercy of these really ancient systems. You're actually moderating your behavior with a more adult, modernized operating system than the like, holy shit, got out of that position, big reversal, I'm going to scale out of this position immediately. I just want to, I want out, right?
Okay,
that's your body talking.
Basically. Okay, but and the positive view on Lucci's behavior is we can say prudence dictates exiting a winning position long before it's prudence. Prudence is a valid skill.
Right.
But what are you talking about rewarding yourself? Are you talking about rewarding yourself after? Or are you talking about rewarding yourself like in the middle of it? Or are you talking about rewarding yourself for having a good trade?
I'm talking about...
Lucci, he's talking about the understanding of when you pull the trigger to get out of a winner.
Oh, that's what you talk. All right. I thought you were talking about rewarding yourself, like after do you do good or blah blah blah, or that's what I thought you were talking about.
Well, statistics show that you want to reward yourself at very weird times. It's better for your nervous system. You don't want the exogenous events to tell you when to reward yourself. You kind of want to take that into your conscious awareness of when you reward yourself, because if you reward yourself repetitively, you kind of set up a system, and then the system will start working autonomously of your higher, more spiritual adult capacities. So we want to take a little bit of responsibility for when we reward ourselves, and that'll break up this more primitive organization. So for me, if I were you, I would, you're gonna go to a dinner, reward yourself. You traded really well today. Maybe it wasn't the typical thing you would reward yourself for the
So you
million.
are talking about
Yeah,
reward
wait a
yourself. So
minute.
you are
You're
talking about that shit.
Yeah,
All
he's
right.
But
So
wait a
here's
minute. Come on.
here's my response. Here's my
Okay,
response. I
please.
don't even want to reward myself
I know you don't.
until I hit my end goal, right?
Yeah.
If I don't hit my end goal or I'm not closer to it, fuck that, man. If I give myself a reward, then I'm like rewarding myself for not performing as well as I
Right.
could have. Now,
Yeah.
there's two sides to this coin. Peter, I agree with what you're saying. But at the same time, I fucking disagree. If I keep doing that, then I don't have the motivation to
Right.
continue pressing forward as
Right.
aggressively as I need to.
Right.
If I know,
Get
if I
it, Luch.
fucking know,
Get him right here. Get him. Go
if
for
I
it.
fucking know I have the skills, if I fucking know that I've worked thus far to get to this point, and I know I'm right there, and I'm on the cusp of something, right? Because I've seen it. I've already seen the feedback. I've already seen all of it. I've already seen all of it play out, and I'm right fucking there. But if I continue to be there in that spot for years, and I still can't am still trying to find that path. If I continue to not look at it as aggressively as I need to, just to add a couple freaking percentage points, just to be better, to make a decision a little bit later, a little bit slower, a little bit whatever the fuck it needs to be, then I can't get to that place. And what the fuck is the point if I can't get to that place, man? So if I keep rewarding myself and for doing half good, I don't have that motivation, that fire, that fucking that monster.
You can get it. You can do it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's my opinion on that, Peter. I agree though with what you're saying. I don't reward myself enough. So then there's another dangerous side to it. There's another side to it where it's like you don't even let yourself live, man. You're not even happy with anything that you fucking do. Then you become this miserable fuck. So there's I don't know.
But getting back to the idea of like trying to be perfect in regards to either sizing at
Shit, I ain't gonna be perfect, Chris. You know I ain't gonna be perfect.
That's the goal, isn't it?
Shit. Okay. All right. Keep going.
Right. I mean, that's what we want, right? That's what we're shooting for today. You had the ability to be perfect. You had a good initiation.
Had it. Fucking had it.
Right. You had it.
But why am I always saying I had it? Why am I always saying I had it?
I mean, like, so if you get it on, then what does our job become? Our job becomes to, as the trade unfolds, to measure how it's going. And I guess that's a cooler analytical process rather than an emotional process, is what Peter's saying. And I'm interpreting what Peter's saying in regards to rewards as profit taking, as though we're looking for the reward in regards to us doing well in initiating the trade, and we don't want to fuck up an initiation that's perfect. Right. So we take our profits, we get out too early, and we said we did great. And then we look back at the end of the day and we are like, oh, the puts I sold at 28 are now 54.
Yeah.
I think two things. One thing, we don't want to be perfect. We want to be superhuman. And superheroes are not perfect. They're all flawed. Like basically that's their earmark, right? And I think trading with size,
what an archetype. That's an archetype.
Right. And trading with size requires an almost superhuman capacity to endure existential intensity without falling off the horse, right?
In English, what's existential intensity? Is that
it's like when you're a teapot boiling and you're about to boil over, you got to have like enough strength in the construction of the teapot so it doesn't explode or like the lid pops off and burns a child or something like that. So so
that you're keeping your shit together when your size is big.
Yeah, like you want to be a crucible, right? A crucible is a device built to handle incredibly intense temperatures, to transform chemicals into something more coordinated and that has integrity. So the reason I say we all want to, and it's not Lucci, it's humans, we want to give ourselves unexpected reward because it breaks up very primitive ways of organizing our experience. We want to take a little bit of control of when we get dopamine. And when I say reward, I mean the molecule dopamine. I don't mean like buying yourself a piece of cake or, like having a beer. I mean that feeling of real confidence that you're going to achieve a goal. Like dopamine is an anticipatory reward. So for Lucci or for Chris, it's like you guys trade size. So an anticipatory reward would be like, I'm gonna fucking kill it next time I make this trade. Like that, and then you still have that reward ahead of you. You don't want to like destroy the dopamine by having ice cream right away. That's not how the brain works. The dopamine is released when you're hunting and you're on the right track. So when I say, and basically you want to break it up because it breaks up primitive organization. And it also puts you a little bit in the driver's seat of when you give yourself reward. And also if you're unhappy with your trading, doing the same thing over and over is not going to fix the pattern. So we want to introduce these variables from time to time to break up historical patterns. That's more what I'm trying to say. I think
Peter,
the language I'm using is
right. Peter, you realize in every Save Your Marriage book, it says to present your wife with flowers randomly. It's essentially what you're saying, right? Like and the markets will take care of that for us anyway. The markets are so random that our rewards are random anyhow. So controlling our need for reward in our case is that, and we also don't have the expectation of any when we put the trade on. It's almost as like we're in the midst of a great adventure and solving a puzzle. It's the idea of or the expectation of some sort of random reward from a trade is more of a surprise to us rather than an expectation, I would say, when I speak for Lucci and myself.
Think about how trauma therapists discuss trauma in children. When a child makes a mistake, are you kind to them and really you can never love a child too much?
No, I'm not kind to children at all.
And in fact, the market rewards discipline before love.
And then but do you give the child a beating and traumatize them, and then they're going to do worse the next time? And then it's going to build into a complex.
I mean, so I don't know. That school of thought, shit. If I beat that ass, she ain't gonna do it anymore. You know
right?
I mean?
Like essentially, the market takes care of that. We operate in a discipline before love environment in the market.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm at a meeting.
To everybody watching, Peter's in Boulder, I'm in New York, Lucci's in San Juan, and so you can see some geographical proximity to that. No, but for real, Peter, the idea is that we're struggling with the idea that we can be right, but we're just trying to be more right.
You can be right all you want, but that has nothing to do with reward. You're the one conflating the two things. The body is dumber than that. The body is not watching price go up and down. The body is responding to these very primitive ways of organizing hormonal uptake and neurotransmitter and sitting a lot and staring.
Back to your example with the child, right? If they do something, if they do something wrong, what do we normally do, right? We get angry or whatever. You're saying that the body is still back on the body still just understands simple things like getting a reward for doing something right and having some kind of reaction or response if they do something wrong, correct? Something as simple as that. The body records these moments.
Yeah, wires the brain.
Wires the brain, right? So now you have a neurological sort of pathway that remembers this, kind of like a snow, just kind of stomping in the snow or whatever. There's a path now that's already imprinted in your
right, Lucci. It's like you're your own history channel.
Right. Okay. Exactly. So if you're saying from the child perspective, right? If you start those pathways in a positive way, right? If the child does something wrong, and then there's no fear behind it or anything like that, then that's a positive sort of pathway that can lead to more, positive things. And
right, cause and effect is a valid function. Science,
right? This whole cause and effect thing, exactly. Right. So how does that relate? So you're saying relate that to trading, right? In this instance where I had a good trade, I read it right, I made some money. reward myself. That way, when I come back to the picture, what? There's not as
No,
much.
you could have done
What?
better. You should have done better.
You know
You
what I'm
were
saying?
such a
Like,
Right.
pussy. You were
how do
such a
I,
pussy.
all right, how do I rewire that neurological pathway that is currently designed to, when I take a trade like this, to beat myself up over the motherfucking head about it because I didn't do as good as possible, right? So
And
this
you
is what we're talking about here.
and you have all the skills and experience to have crushed it today.
Exactly. Katie is just rubbing it in right now. Yeah,
Yes,
right. So I got all
right.
these things going, right? And it makes it even worse for me. That's my reaction. That's my pathway. That's my neurological pathway that is already set in stone. Boom, you have a good trade, you make 200 grand, you're fucking pissed off because it should have been 2 mil. How
Right.
do you rewire or redesign said neurological pathway?
You forgive yourself,
In your opinion.
Luch.
In your
my
opinion.
opinion, you forgive yourself, Luch.
You know what I mean? We're old motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Katie and I, we're old, man. We're fucking old.
We don't have much time left.
So what are we, what are we talking about? How does a trader go about changing those habitual processes to create new pathways, to find new pathways? And you're talking about this one example of rewarding yourself, when you do good or blah, blah, blah. Talk a little bit about that. What do you think?
You want to retrain. You're going to be able to retrain your brain by being kind to yourself. And so you want to cut self-aggression, because self-aggression,
Katie, he just that's 100% of my whole being, man. He's asking me to not be
but
myself.
then you can continue doing that, and you'll probably continue trading.
I'm
how
looking
you
for
trade,
answers
which
here,
is
Peter. I'm looking
successful.
for answers here, Peter. So,
Yeah.
I got to do what's required. So anyways, continue. So you're saying be kind to yourself.
So self-aggression is hallucinatory. It's not real. It's something you make up in response to an exogenous event, right? Accurate?
Okay. Yeah.
So you didn't milk the trade to your satisfaction. You had like a strategy in the back of your mind. It didn't. This is like the worst trade to use because you didn't lose money on this trade.
No, this
Peter,
is the best trade to use.
Right,
this is the best trade to use. Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going. Come on.
So basically what you're doing is you're enacting self-aggression, which is a taught behavior. It's like a learned behavior to create a dream that you're a significant person relative to the market and you deserve to be punished because you didn't follow through. But the whole line of thinking is hallucinatory. What's going to stimulate new dendrites and new ways of organizing your experience is to be really kind to yourself, kind of give yourself an inner hug, reward yourself for a good trade, and that's going to enable you to build resilience when you're trading in a way that you're not comfortable with, or where you would historically just beat yourself up. You know what I mean?
Did you see Katie cringe? Did you see Katie cringe
Luch,
when you said hug yourself?
Yeah.
Peter, Luch is like, and I said forgive yourself, but Luch is like trying to learn how to play Mozart, okay? And we've been practicing the piano now for a long fucking time.
Yeah. That has nothing to do with how the brain remolds itself, though.
Right.
Well, I mean, we have tried and we have tried. It's not like we're not trying to be superhuman in regards to our job description.
Right. There's this line that we live on, Peter. There's this line, man. Yo, after I took ayahuasca and I was trading that year, right?
Yeah.
And I realized that there was a strategy that was just working for me where I didn't have to be as active, but I could still make like 200 grand a month, right? In the end of the year, I ended up with a couple million. And that strategy was just selling premium. But guess what? The market was just doing nothing more or less. It was easy to sell premium a week out, 2 weeks out, and watch it go to fucking zero. Sure, there was some up and down ticks or whatever, but it was just easy to do that. Now, people will equate my success with having done the fucking ayahuasca. But in reality, it wasn't the ayahuasca. It was just me reaching to a point where I was tired of being so aggressive about it and trying to find a way to have my time, enjoy some time, and still make money at the same time. And it just happened to coincide with a nice period where there were some good things going on and I felt good about where I was in life and I didn't have so many things on my shoulder, right? Fast forward again, what do? Right? I do what I always do. I overlever, I overextend myself because I got a bunch of money in my pocket. So I create all these businesses. I invest in all this shit. And now all of a sudden I'm back to where I was before I took the fucking ayahuasca in the first fucking place. So my point here is that we live on this line, man, this
Yeah.
weird line.
Yeah.
Human beings, man, we live on this line of extremities, man, at
Yeah.
least me in particular,
I
where
would
we
say
just float to the both ends of these lines,
it's
and
a
then we
high
have to try to
wire.
find ourselves
A
in
high
the middle
wire,
of it all.
Luch. Yeah, you're living on a tightrope.
And we just find ourselves in the middle of all this stuff. Now, what Peter, I believe, is trying to get to is like there's this place where you don't have to do that. And that's, I believe, what the intent of all this kind of stuff, and then where we're trying to get to. Fuck, man. I
I
just
say
can't see it, man.
Luch,
I
I say we
can't
live.
see it.
I say we live. It is essentially being in a proper meditative state is walking the high wire between agitation and dullness. And so there is a spot that is good for you, and it's different for every person.
And doing it with grace, and doing it with
Yeah,
grace, and doing it
right.
without the all the shit that goes with it. But you
What
have
did
to
Clint
practice. You have to
Clint's
practice a little bit of both.
Yeah, Clint said, what, everybody has to know your limit. Punk, you have to know your limits or something like that, he said, right?
But
Every
I
man.
feel like there's such hypocrisy in it as well, right?
Yeah,
If on one side I can be like, woosah, I'm gonna hug myself and everything,
right.
and on the other
Do
side,
ayahuasca and
and
light a
on
candle, brother.
and on the other side, I'm fucking yelling at one of my traders here for making some dumbass fucking moves, and it's like, what line is that, Peter? What fucking line is that, man?
Well,
What line is that?
that line is hallucinated. I think inviting complexity is what I'm really getting at. For someone who's self-aggressive quite frequently, I would recommend an inner hug. If you were someone who was like giving yourself a pass every time you made a mistake and like going out and drinking a six pack, then I probably wouldn't maybe recommend that would be like a great way to break up this black and white way of organizing your experience. I think a lot of us unconsciously are just the way you're talking about it. You're talking about extremes as though extremes actually exist, but there's only right now like happening to you. The rest of that stuff is like you're dreaming it up for the
You're
sake
making
of
it up,
argument.
100%,
Yeah, of
100%.
course, because it like supports a worldview that's familiar.
Oh,
And
fuck,
so
Peter.
basically when we're trading and we have a pattern we want to break, then we have to break up that familiar way of narrativizing our trades. And I think that's like, people who enter into our psychology course, we're going to help them break up that way of organizing the reality of the black and white appearance of the market, right? Price goes up, price goes down, but then there's more coherent market structure supporting these tiny black and white moves. And so we want to broaden out and narrow in and not take a side between big thinking and like granular thinking. But I think a lot of traders, due to their younger trade history, we want to have a black and white way of working in the world because it facilitates this hallucinatory quality that's very familiar to us and protects us from not knowing what's next.
Is winning at that level that I'm trying to get to not extreme? Is
I mean, it's extreme.
losing as a trader everything that you have not extreme? How do you win? How do we talk about extremes as a mental manifestation if fucking nobody can get there, man? If not one fucking person can get there, how is that not an extreme? And
Time out.
how do I not be extreme in order to fucking get there?
Time out. You want to be in a place where no one's figured it out.
Exactly.
The upside's unlimited.
The upside is unlimited.
Right. So
Well,
we accept the fact that we can't get there, but we also, given that we
is
can't get
that not an extreme place? Is that not an extreme place?
Yeah, it is, but it is relative to your experience, but in the grand scheme of things, it might not be. So that's why I'm saying you invite complexity, because yes, it's extreme, but that's an appearance that's like limited to your experience. I'm not experiencing any extremity when you're trading, so it's very much limited to the way you're.
Understood. Okay, but let's talk about extremes in the context of everybody, right?
Yeah.
Let's bring in the GOATs, right? Let's bring in the Michael Jordans, right? Is it extreme to win 6 fucking NBA conference titles? Is it extreme? Did he have to be extreme in order to get there? Answer that question.
He just
You know
had
what I
to,
mean?
well, he had to make enough repetitions and probably retrain his brain and his like nervous system to respond without having to consciously think. He seemed to have like incredible clarity and in the moment awareness of like, right? He had situational awareness that was like bordering on superhuman, but that's
He had to
partly
bring other
talent.
people with him. He had to bring other
Right.
people with him. And who was he to those people? He was a fucking asshole. He was a complete asshole. He
Yeah.
was telling them all like, "Yo, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? If you ain't on my level, you can't get on my level. Get the fuck off
Right.
this team. Get the
Yeah.
fuck off this team. We're not gonna win a championship." You know
Right.
what I mean? So he
Well,
had to bring other people with him. He brought a whole city with him. He brought
right.
all kinds of people with him to
So
that venture.
I would say that part of his psyche was probably not as well developed or evolved as his basketball,
So
his
you think
spatial awareness, his spatial intelligence.
Kobe
And
was the same? Kobe was the fucking same. He was the same.
But
I
in
mean,
answer,
Jerry Garcia was an asshole, right? He's like a heroin addicted prick to a lot of people.
Wait, who you talking about? The Grateful Dead dude?
Yeah, I'm talking about
he's
musicians.
he's from
A
Boulder,
lot of
Luch. He's from Boulder, Luch.
a lot of superhuman people are flawed. So you gotta, they're like highly flawed.
Hey, Peter, time out for a sec. I think
Yeah, yeah.
Luch's a question about is it extreme, and
I
I'd
like when
say,
Lucci's on here. He gets right up
yeah,
on.
I
You know
think
me,
I
you
think
know me,
I
man. I
think
don't
it
have time, man. I ain't got the
right.
time.
We don't have the time. I think like Luch. I think you're right. It's extreme. I think, and in fact, for us to be as superhuman to hold the winners with size through the unknown, right? Because essentially we're looking at acting through the unknown under crucible pressure, to use
Yeah.
Peter's word. We're acting through the unknown. I think that's very extreme. I don't think, society does not teach anybody, nor do people who know how to do it tell people how to do it.
Let,
And so
let
your
me
ability,
reverse this though. Let me reverse this. When Michael Jordan's playing in a championship, do you think he keeps thinking this is extreme? This is extreme.
No, he's just like well, again, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the emotions
I
of the
doubt
time.
it.
I
I
don't know
think
the
he's
emotions of the
probably
time.
very clear, and he's trained himself not to think about those extremes. So
I would
I'm wondering
venture
if
that you're right.
it's helpful for you to think about extremes when you're trading extremely. I don't
right?
know.
Well, I don't in the heat of the moment, I'm not looking at this and being like, holy shit, this is extreme. I'm looking at it like, holy shit, this is it. This is
Right.
Ah,
it. And my
Yeah.
mind is telling me like this is it. Now, there's my instinct, which is go, 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 go. Now, what happens with instinct? What happens with natural instinct? My instinct is met with a force that is my mind, right? Now my mind starts to get involved in this bullshit. Now my mind is like, oh shit, maybe you shouldn't put on that much size. You don't know, you don't know,
right.
you don't
Right.
know, you don't know, you don't know. It's got fear from past trades. It's got all this kind of bullshit. Now your instinct is fucking softened. The power of your instinct is softened.
Yeah.
So you take less size, you get out quicker, you blah 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 blah, all this kind of other shit. When your instinct was raw, was right, was there from the jump. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think I'm looking at it as an extreme kind of example. Maybe I am because I am talking about in the context of putting a large sum of my account or a percentage of my account in one fucking trade. So yeah,
And
maybe it is fucking
trading on
and
instinct.
trading on instinct. You know what I mean? So that
Like,
sounds
come
extreme.
on. Yeah,
It
that's
fucking
nuts.
sounds man, shit. It is extreme. Fuck it.
Yeah.
So
Fuck
I
it.
think that another thing traders that we would teach in our class is to check in with their body, because a lot of the narrative is coming from like sensations of fear in the body that
I
then
like that.
overwhelm,
I like
right?
that.
It overwhelms your rational
I
adult
like that.
capacity. And so I think at least before we start scaling out of a trade, because we want to get out of the trade, we should check in with our body and just be like, hey, is my behavior being like driven by this more primitive
Yep.
fear
Yeah.
response? That's
Yep.
a
There
very
you,
simple.
yeah.
It's
There
how
you
to
go,
train
Peter.
myself to ask those questions when it fucking matters. The problem is
It's
when
so
it
hard.
matters, when
Yeah.
it matters for anybody, any rules, all thought, all frame of minds, all framework goes out the motherfucking window.
Yeah.
Same thing as Tyson always said. Yeah, everybody got a plan until you get punched in the fucking face.
Yeah.
It's the same shit. How do
Right.
you do it in the heat of the moment? And guess what? We come back to the same fucking thing of extremities, right? Who is able to get past that road? Who's able to get past that road? It's only the extreme motherfuckers that we've seen get past that road. And what do we mean by extreme, right? Just let's look at Tyson. Look at Tyson. Tyson didn't have sex for 3 years, man. He said even later on that he was a fucking idiot even for making that choice, right? His coach turned him into a fucking monster, man. All he thought about was punching. All he thought about was how big his fucking neck was, man. All he thought about was that. How to be the most brutal monster in the whole fucking world. And look what happened, man. And look what fucking happened. So here we are. Back to
so
extreme.
So for everybody watching, thank you for joining us for our group therapy today on January 18th. Luch has to go. Here it's 5 o'clock. Peter and I and Luch, we're all teaching a psychology course for those who are brave enough.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I will actually be teaching one of those. I know I'm definitely in for one of those.
Right?
Charlie and myself are in for one of those, but you're getting most of the content from Peter here and Chris.
From the extreme people on this call.
Yeah, who are so yeah, good on you today. Nice job, Luch. That's what you need to hear.
No doubt. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it today, Peter. I'm
Yeah,
gonna go have
up
dinner. I'm gonna enjoy a nice piece of, a nice little thing, and
break up the pattern and just see.
I will.
Do it every time.
I will.
Hey, Luch, what's your po? Short? I'm still short.
Oh yeah, I'm still short.
Yep. Peter, do you have a position?
Your po. No, I exited today.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got short calls for tomorrow and Friday, and then I think is going to happen tomorrow is they'll hold the market down and then rotate to other names to sell them. So there's plenty of names that are overbought, and they'll just rotate to those names and start selling them. So I'm gonna try to go for round 2 tomorrow.
If they get them up overnight, I think you can take a stab.
They get them up overnight. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Good to see you, Luch. Bye, Peter.
Thank you.